Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Greg, before we dive into all the stories and kind of craziness that we're going to talk about today, we are now less than a month away from our Life, Family, Liberty Gala on September 16th. If people attend, who can they expect to see, and what are they going to kind of learn about or experience at the gala?
Well, Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee will be there, and he's a pretty popular guy and a pretty good speaker, I hear, as well. And, you're going to meet my parents. My parents are coming. So, Mr. and Mrs. Burt, they are not particularly famous, but they're very nice, and I will be glad to introduce you if you show up.
There you go. Greg's parents are the best, truly. So make sure, if you have not got your tickets yet, if you have not gotten your tables, your sponsorship, VIP ticket, whatever it is that you want to get, to go ahead and go get that. You can find that at californiafamily.org. We have an events page, as well as it's going to be linked in the show notes, so you can see the events, you can get your tickets. It is going to be a great night, so make sure you get your tickets soon. And we cannot wait to see you guys all in person and celebrate all the wins we've had this year and talk about what we need to keep fighting against and moving forward with in the coming years. So, Greg, speaking of fighting things, and some of the things we kind of face is, this gender ideology thing. I feel like that's kind of our topic today on the podcast, gender ideology. And we're just seeing it from all different angles. Later, we're going to talk about the whole situation with the WNBA, Sophie Cunningham, now men trying to declare in the WNBA to prove how insane this ideology is and how ridiculous it is. We also see the angle of gender ideology where, right now California is saying you must affirm gender ideology to keep your job. And, I know, Greg, a lot of people are going to think, wait, what? I'm going to lose my job if I don't affirm that men who think they're women can be women and women who think they're men are men. And so what is actually happening here? What is going on with this? And I guess at the end of the day, Greg, should people go along to just get along? Should people just be affirming this, or what should we be doing on this situation?
Right. I think this is a huge story. I have not seen anybody else cover this, and I became aware of it because, we get calls from folks, listeners, people who support us, folks who follow us. And I had a gentleman who is actually a Christian talk show host in the Central Valley. His name is Dennis McCourt, and he called me. He also works for a software company that is from out of state, actually, and they provide online software on biblical topics for churches, right? Kind of like a Bible software that churches can use. And he told me that his software company, even though they're, promoting biblical values, he said he was told by his employer that California now requires him to go through sexual harassment training, which a bunch of it is fine, but it also includes a gender identity component. And you think, what? Gender identity is now part of sexual harassment. And so what happened is what he was asked, he was going through these questions, and then it said, in this testing, it said that he has to answer a question correctly and say that affirming the misusing a pronoun is sexual harassment. So he was asked, if you don't use someone's preferred pronoun, that is sexual harassment. And he just stopped at that point and said, I can't say that. It's not sexual harassment to not use someone's preferred pronouns. I have a biblical view of sex and gender, and biology determines those things, not somebody's feelings or, preferences. And so I can't answer the question the way the state wants me to. And why am I being forced to go through all this gender ideology as part of my employment? And so he did a little research, and he found out that it's not just his company was being forced to do this. Every company in California with more than 5 employees, and I mean every company, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit, is required by state statute to have everybody go through sexual harassment training every 2 years. Supervisors need 2 hours of training. Every employee needs 1 hour of training. And they changed the definition of what sexual harassment includes, and it includes gender identity. And so I said, well, I need to see this curriculum because no one is going to believe it. And so I went on the state website, and I found the state has the sexual harassment training, and it was from the Civil Rights Department of the state of California. And I took the training myself. It's free. And I took the supervisor's training. I said, what are they telling supervisors? And you have to click through like 150 lessons, and they're like short little videos. And at the end of each video, you have to click to the next one. So, and then you have to answer test questions to make sure you're answering the way they want. And it took me like an hour, over an hour, to get to the gender identity portion of the training. And what I saw was shocking, and I'm going to show you some of it. So why don't we start out just with the video introduction to the whole topic of gender identity, just to give you a flavor of what the state is now requiring every employer to give to their employees and supervisors.
Let's watch a video. Video courtesy of NYC Commission on Human Rights.
Now, you will watch a video about gender. The video is audio described for people who are blind or have low vision. In a classroom, 2 people present.
We're going to take 2 minutes to talk about gender.
Oh, this has nothing to do with me.
Well, actually, gender does have to do with you.
Not to me.
Hold on. Everyone has a relationship with gender.
Whether you've thought about gender a little or a lot, it has impacted you. How you were named, what clothes you wear, expectations about what jobs you can do. And you get the point. Yep, every single person watching this video has been taught about gender from the very beginning, from birth.
We like to define people, right? So when people are born, society defines them by looking at their reproductive organs and labels them male or female.
It's a girl. Actually, it's more complicated than that.
Gender can be broken down into gender expression or gender identity. Let's look at some gender identities.
I'm Sophie, and I'm cisgender. The majority of people in our world identify as cisgender, sometimes without us even knowing it. Cis means I identify with the gender I was assigned at birth. When I was born, the doctor said,
"It's a girl."
and I still identify as a woman today.
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm also a woman. So when I was a baby,
Man holds a blue blanket.
It's a boy.
Mara pulls away the blanket, revealing a pink one.
no. I'm a trans woman. I identify as a woman, even though when I was born, I was assigned something different.
A man who is deaf signs.
I'm Garrett. I'm a cisgender man. When I was born, everyone said,
People throw blue balloons.
and today I identify as a man.
Hi, I'm Bailey.
People surround Bailey with pink.
And I'm also a man, even though I was assigned female at birth.
People tear away pink to reveal
I'm a
blue.
trans man.
Hi, I'm C.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, and we're non-binary.
For me, that means I don't identify as either a woman or a man.
C and Lindsay are handed multicolored balloons.
And for me, that means I don't identify with a gender at all.
Lindsay tosses balloons.
Okay, but I'm confused. I mean, what about gender and sexuality?
Oh, I know. Sexuality is about who you're attracted to.
Yes.
So are you gay?
Nope. Gender and sexuality are both part of our identities, but they're completely different categories.
So don't assume someone's sexuality based on their gender.
Now let's dive into gender expression.
Let me ask you something. If you're a cis man, do you need a plaid shirt, bulging muscles, to have no room for tears, to love sports?
Man is thrown a football.
No.
Man misses
This
football.
might work for some and not others. Why? Because there's no one way to express masculinity or femininity. That's for you to decide.
Everyone's allowed to have their own relationship to gender. But there are different things that may affect how the world views your gender.
Or how you choose to express it. For example, makeup. Do you wear it? How do you wear it? How colorful do you make it?
Hair, is it short? Is it long? More natural? Braided? Did you shave it all off?
Clothes. Do you wear skirts, pants, both? Do you accessorize?
Body language. How do you walk? How do you sit?
A person signs.
All of these things can be expressions of gender.
You might express your gender differently at different points in your life.
For example, do you dress differently than you did as a middle schooler?
Photo of a middle schooler in a yearbook.
Thankfully, gender expression can evolve as you grow as a person.
Whew. Bottom line, you understand your identity better than anyone else.
No matter how you identify, you deserve to be believed and respected.
So if you're listening into the podcast right now on like just a listening platform, I would highly recommend hopping over to our California Family Council YouTube page or Facebook page and actually watching the podcast to just watch that video alone. I can't believe that's even real. It blows my mind that like people actually believe this and buy into it and want to force then employees in California to have to agree to this training and agree to the ideology being taught. I mean, this whole idea of that, they look at what you are when you're born, but they assign you a color and then you get to change your color and you get to be whatever you want. And then everyone has to just affirm and accept it. This video feels like satire. It feels fake. And genuinely, it's sad how like broken the people in it look. It's sad to watch. It's infuriating to watch. It's a video where you can really see that there is good in this world and there is evil in this world. And I'm not saying all these people are evil, but they have their eyes blinded by it for sure.
Right. Well, and you notice they talked in very matter of fact, like this is the reality of the universe. And you employee, you supervisor, this is what you need to accept and to live by. It's not like there are some people in the world who believe like this and we need to learn to live with them. No, this is the way things are, right? And then if you go to our website, you will see the screenshots of the training, the screenshots of the training, which now apply these principles in practice. And so what does this mean in practice if you have to believe this and talk about this? Well, first of all, it says that misgendering a person who identifies as trans and using the wrong pronoun is now considered sexual harassment. It says dead naming, which is using someone's previous name before they transitioned. That is harassment. Demanding that an employee use a particular bathroom that doesn't, if they're if some woman or a man is using a woman's bathroom and you make a comment, that is now harassment. And I'm assuming if you complain or make a comment about a man pretending to be a woman and now going on the girls' sports teams, that is now harassment. It's not just harassment, it's illegal harassment. And so what does that mean practically? Well, the supervisor's job is to make sure to punish harassers right up to firing them. And there are various slots that say that the employee and the supervisor can be held personally liable by the person being harassed in court. And so you can be sued for money damages, right? And so there's this fear, like you will say the pronoun, you will not voice your opinion on these Christian topics. You can't express what the Christian belief would be about gender, or you will be charged with harassing. This is what the training is telling all California employees now. Now, this is a violation of the First Amendment. First Amendment says the government cannot compel you to say something you do not believe, cannot compel you to say things that contradict your faith, right? That's what the Constitution clearly says. So these are clearly unconstitutional, but the state is getting around it by mandating these be enforced by supervisors and companies, right? And, what it's going to take is for everyone to say, no way am I going to do this, even if that means I get fired and then you file a lawsuit. Folks, the pressure on those who believe in, the binary nature of human beings is under attack. And this training is just evidence that that's where they expect all society to go. And, I'm a little concerned that, we've been bringing up this is happening everywhere, medical field, the teachers with the PRISM training, same thing, but now it's every employer. And I just don't hear enough people, I don't hear enough Christians speaking up and saying it is your biblical obligation not to tell lies, right? And so when you use somebody's preferred pronoun, what you're doing is you are telling a lie, right? It's like someone telling you they want you to say, refer to them as a doctor. Like I could claim, hey, I want to be referred to as Dr. Greg Burt, even though I don't have a doctorate. And right. And so I'm demanding this of the other person. And, because that's what I feel comfortable with. And I feel, encouraged and exhilarated by calling a doctor. And now I demand everybody to call me a doctor. But you who hear this should say, well, you're not a doctor. And so because of that, I'm not going to call you that, even though you want me to. And that's not being harassing. That is just me living based on reality. So we'll see where this goes, but I'm trying to make a big stink about it as possible and get pastors and other Christian leaders to speak up.
Absolutely. And we need to be speaking out on these issues. We need to stand for what's right. And one of the main reasons Christians are always asking, I think, how did we get here? How did culture get so crazy? It was just 10 years ago where everything felt a little bit more normal. We get to where we're at because good people remain silent. That's the reality of things. That's not saying that bad things still won't happen if everyone's speaking up, but it happens so quickly because we're not standing up against it boldly. We're not pushing back against it. And I think we're starting to see more of that happen. So we need to be bold. We need to speak out against this. And especially this whole transgender ideology, it feels like it's infecting nearly every aspect of life.
Right.
And you can't go to school without being indoctrinated by it. You're now not able to go to work in California without having to be forced to have trainings on it. So it's not just like, oh, if you know someone who's living in this ideology, they're forcing it down our throats on every aspect of life. And so that also brings me to, Greg, the sports issue. We've talked about that endlessly on the podcast and the girls' sports issue. And so we've actually seen, I'm sure many of you guys watching have seen this kind of playing out over the last few weeks. A WNBA player, Sophie Cunningham, speaking out against this, simply just saying, I don't hate anyone. I love all people, but I'm not going to affirm a lie, and I want to protect the girls. And that's I think the best way you can put it. She put it so well. She is a believer, and so I'm sure that's where a lot of her values are coming from. And so she kind of blew up for this meme on social media of her pointing at another player. And it felt like she took that prime time of her blowing up and that meme being everywhere. Within that next week is when she came out and made the statement about protecting girls' sports. And that has just been the talk of the town, all over the news, all within the WNBA. And what I love is after there was some pushback, they asked her okay, do you still stand by what you're saying? And she doubled down. There was, we see a lot of celebrities or famous people or athletes, they say something because it's right and they believe it and it's true and they receive pushback. And within 24 hours, Greg, you normally see I need to read more. I need to learn more. I was uninformed and I'm so sorry about what I said and the community it has harmed. Right. Do we not hear that so often, Greg?
No, yeah, all the time, right? The pressure to conform and say, what the culture wants you to say on these issues is intense, right? And not just from the culture itself, but your employer, right? All your sponsors, everything's going to be pulled from you. So she risked a lot to speak up. And, she was one of the first professional players that I know of that started to speak up, and she's not caving in. And that is making a lot of people very upset.
Yeah, absolutely. She's actually the first current female professional player to speak out. So we've had some, former female athletes, professional athletes speak out, which has been so great. Any athlete that's willing to speak out on this, so great. But to have a current female athlete, she spoke out and could have lost it all. My favorite thing is literally a day or two after she spoke out, she had Adidas dropping a shoe line for her and it sold out so quickly. And it's this is what people want to hear. And so anyways, there has now been a giant stir within the WNBA about this. And something that I personally have loved watching play out is we have now watched former NBA players now make it known that they're officially declaring for the 2027 WNBA draft. And they're not people that are confused on their gender and on their sex. These are men that are trying to make a mockery of this and prove such a point. Look through the WNBA rules and simply as long as they self-identify as a woman, they should be allowed into the draft. And so that's what they're doing to prove how ridiculous this is. And just make a mockery of it. And I think sometimes that's the best way to really show the reality of what's going on is for these men that are these big men with beards and all this saying, okay, well then I declare I'm a woman and I'm going to play in the WNBA. Like, put me in the draft. I don't know. I think it is hilarious. And Greg, there is a great video of Royce White. He was the second male to do this. And he was talking on Fox News. And I just want to show everyone just a small snippet of what he had to say about this.
This week I made the announcement. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well. Well, I mean, I think I'd be unstoppable. But I'm a team first guy. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things. I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do.
I smile and I hope he goes through with it. I mean, I hope he actually goes all the way to being put on a team and just plays and go all the way. This can't be a gag. I know he's maybe he's just gagging and, but no, go all the way, right? You have to go all the way. And I would say a ton of males should do the same thing, right? Undo their own rules by flooding the women's team with males. Do it.
And you know how quickly it's ending things, Greg. Enes Kanter Freedom, a former NBA player, he was the first one to do this. Now Royce White's doing it. And it actually made it so that the WNBA got together for a meeting to discuss, ultimately, what does the W in WNBA mean? And because it puts them in a position where these men could actually file lawsuits if this isn't allowed. And so it puts them in a position to either completely accept this transgender ideology as it is, which is you can choose to self-identify as whatever you want and everyone else has to affirm it and allow it, or they're going to actually have to define what a woman is and make it so that the WNBA is for the first letter of it only for women only. So I'm excited to see this play out. I was talking on Newsmax about it, and so let's watch that clip.
Technically, if you were a man, the league is saying you could join the league. So your reaction to what we just heard from Royce?
Yeah, I'm loving watching this play out. The best way to prove how ridiculous their points are is to make a mockery of it. And that's what we're seeing with Royce, with Enes, and the fact that we're basically proving to them, see, anyone can just say they're a woman, and now you're supposed to accept them as a woman and put them in women's spaces and women's sports and allow it. And so the fact that they're now on this decision of, do they continue on with this false ideology they're following, or do they finally stand up for what's right and say what a woman is? I can't wait to see how this plays out.
Yeah, that was a great interview. You're saying the obvious, and I hope this comes true. If you really think about it, maybe this should be the new strategy. Boys should just, second string boys should just flood the women's teams everywhere so that there's hardly any women on the women's team anymore, right? Do it in all the categories. And when they see what happens, right, you show them the results of their own ideology, how this cannot play out logically, right? Women exist or they don't exist, right? I was in a hearing the other day. I was watching, I was in a hearing, I was at an event where the legislators were speaking at an event, and they started talking about women's rights and how important it is to make sure they have health care. And what were they talking about? They were talking about mammograms and, pregnancy and, menopause. Those are all things, I thought that's pretty biased. There's lots of people who don't have that are still women in their view. Right? They can't keep it straight, even when talking about healthcare, right? And it's what has happened to our brains. You have to have a consistent worldview that makes sense. You can't believe two things that are opposite at the same exact time. That's exactly what they're doing. There's women, and then there's these other things we're going to call women. They're called men, but we're going to call them women because we are full of compassion. And we never say no to anybody. We're about inclusiveness, even though we're, that makes no sense, and 80% of people agree with this in the public, both parties. And hey folks, we can all criticize these politicians, but you know who's at fault? The public. Mm-hmm. The public is putting up with this for whatever reason. You're letting your politicians do this. because you don't want to deal with people calling you names or being upset or whatever other excuse you have for being quiet and letting it go. It's like we all, you have a crazy uncle and you're just trying to keep the peace and tell the uncle whatever he wants to hear, so I don't have to confront him. But the uncle is causing huge damage on the family and also in your, all society now. And it's about time to stop, right?
Yeah.
Let your politicians stop.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, Assemblymember Mark Berman actually had something to say on the assembly floor about these men deciding to make a mockery of what we've been allowing to happen for years. So let's see what a California assembly member has to say about this.
Certain community leaders claiming that they were going to declare themselves for the WNBA draft because they now consider themselves transgender is sick. It's sick what people are doing to get attention. It's sick what people are doing for politics that is directly harming young people in California and across the country.
Assemblymember Mark Berman so many times kept saying, it's sick that these men are doing this, and it's sick that these men are saying that they're transgender women and declaring for the WNBA draft. What's sick is telling people that you were born in the wrong body and allowing them to mutilate and sterilize their healthy bodies. What's sick is allowing males to be in girls' sports and spaces, in locker rooms, in bathrooms. We're seeing them in women's prisons, and women are being injured and hurt because of it. That's what's sick. And you know what? The California State Capitol for years has said, Greg, it is however you identify. It's about your feelings and your truth and how you identify. And we all have to go along with it. And now that these two men are saying, I'm a woman and I'm going to declare for the WNBA draft, they're not really a woman. I thought it was about self-identification. So is it or is it not? How do we actually know who's actually transgender and who's actually not transgender? And, just real quick to add on to that, both of the males that are pushing back and doing this to, again, make a mockery of what's going on, people on the other side, Greg, are tweeting at them, are putting posts at them that are saying, fine, then dive all the way in. Go get fake breasts, grow your hair out, shave off your beard, go take estrogen. And you know what? My favorite part is they're pushing back with, how dare you tell me how I be a transgender woman? And it's like, yes, that is what we need to see, because all of a sudden now having breasts and having long hair and all that stuff, that's what makes you a woman. When it's so great to see these men pushing back. Someone remember Mark Berman, it genuinely feels like, have you lost your mind to believe this whole thing? Anyways, I could sit here for hours and go on a rant about this, but I will step off my soapbox now.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. I think his comments are just so self-evident of how, you've picked a philosophy that doesn't work. And now it's being exposed as the fraud that it is. You can't get outraged at someone who identifies as a woman, even if it's for a joke, when you let everybody self-identify and no one can question it. I mean, you set these rules up, and now that people are following your rules and you're upset. I don't know what to tell. I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to help you.
Yeah, it's so illogical. Things are so backwards. But also, Greg, you know what I'm happy about? 3 years ago, we would have not seen a professional female athlete speaking about this and former professional male athletes speaking about this. And most of the people agreeing with them. So the tide is turning. People are getting over it. People are speaking out. So as much as we sat here and told you about all the chaos and the crazy that's happening, there are good things happening. We had the great Supreme Court ruling that said states do have the right to protect girls' sports. We're seeing people stand up to force gender ideology training. So there is good things happening. People are speaking out. We need to keep using our voices. We need to keep speaking out and standing for what is right. And our goal is just to help you guys stay informed, to stay involved, and to give you ways to be involved. So make sure to continue to follow along on the podcast, share this with other people, sign up for our newsletter if you haven't done that. It's a weekly email where you'll get the lay of the land in California. Go to californiafamily.org to sign up for that, to read the articles, learn more about what we talked about today. But Greg, do you have anything else you want to share?
No, appreciate everybody supporting us. All of these activities that we're involved in. Obviously, we have a nonprofit that funds all of this, and so and a board that oversees us. So continue to keep us in your prayers and continue to make a donation. And we can do more if we had more funds. So it's a big state, and we feel like we're just scratching the surface, and it's a deluge of stuff coming towards us. But folks, it seems that the tide's about to turn, and people are going to need support, especially with all this training that's being forced on everyone. I think people are waking up that, the federal law is on your side. The U.S. Constitution still exists. The First Amendment, we got a Supreme Court that has never been more fabulous on supporting religious liberty and freedom of speech. So, but it still takes a citizenry to advocate and stand up for their own rights. And I know, folks, that means risk, right? It's a real risk. But folks, if nobody stands up, we're going to lose all those rights. So we just encourage you, continue to stand, talk to your pastors. As a church, stand together and support each other, right? And if everybody starts standing up together, it's going to be very hard for the state to do anything. They want to pick us off one by one, make us afraid one by one. But if we all stand together in courage, the whole system collapses, right? So be of good cheer.
Absolutely. So with that, we will see you guys all next time.